Hello guys and welcome back to the manager series. Today we're going to go through talking about England. Obviously there's no disrespect to Gareth Southgate, it's the fact that he's probably going to leave after this summer's Euros. I'm going to talk about who are the best options, who are the options that are on the table right now for us to be looking at coming into the next World Cup and coming to the Euros after it. Starting on the screen here is what I think will be England's best 11 going into the next World Cup and the Euros after it. The World Cup, which obviously we want to win, it's what we should go into every World Cup wanting, is to win the World Cup, and I think this is the best 11 that you can kind of conjure up. So the only change I'd make to the Euro squad really here would be, I'd hope Luke Shaw can win, but I don't think he will be. I think it might be Trippier over here. It's probably going to be Walker at right back, and we're not too sure on this opposition here. Depends if He's back fit, and we don't know if Manu is going to be ready to play for England just yet, or if we're going to see a Conor Gallagher or someone like that coming in, or Bellingham drop deep and Foden in the 10. But anyway, this is the best England 11 that I think. It allows Foden, where his best position is, to cut inside, which he loves to do. He's good at close control dribbling, taking one-on-one on a fullback and taking him on. The same as Saka, both on the wings. It's deadly. It is deadly. People say, oh, he's not going to pace. He plays out wide for City. Bellingham, obviously in the 10, like, he is currently one of the best number 10s in the world. And then Harry Kane up front, no one better. Manu being that connector between Bellingham and Rice. Rice being the holder in between here. More like this is what you want to see as, but obviously Bellingham can come deep and collect it as well. Manu can come deep and go forward. He's happy to attack like that. And then Rice can also drive. Levi Colwill, good defensively, and our young left back. I do love Luke Shaw, but I feel like by 31 at the next World Cup, he'll be. Levi Colwill might be that guy that we want to have left back. We only get stuck in the same problem we have with Ashley Cole, where we're still playing him at like 34. Trent at right back, obviously England's best right back coming in the next couple of years. Reece James might have sorted his fitness out by then, and he might be arguing for a place, but right now it would be Trent. Overlapping on that Saka, and depending on what manager it is, it might end up playing different roles, playing different positions. Wait and see. Stones, obviously England's best centre back, and Gehi next to him I think is the next best option. I also really like Levi Colwill, but in terms of left back options, I like Levi Colwill there as well. He is quite defensively strong, and I'll accept it. I will accept it. Hopefully someone shines through the next couple of years and we go, oh, you know what, I'll take them. And then Jordan Pickford the same, if someone shines through the next few years. But I just don't think England's next big keeper is there yet. Like, people might talk about, oh, James Trafford, he's the next one, he did well. No, I don't see it with James Trafford, I really don't. But getting on to the first manager that came into my head when thinking about England, and Mourinho, and apparently he has been offered the job before and didn't take it, which is his own deal, why not? But I just do think it just suits Mourinho. Tournament football, English people do have that little special spot for Mourinho for his times at Chelsea and United. There's a lot of love for Mourinho in this country. It would just be how he sets up and how he treats the players, which is a big issue with Mourinho, which we all know is a bit of an issue with Mourinho. Like, he always seems to fall out of a star. It's how Mourinho would play, and I think he'd keep Trent in the team for definite. But I think he'd do this. I think he'd drop Kobe Manu. I don't think Kobe Manu is his type of player. I think he'd want Bellingham deeper, allowing Foden into there, and then maybe play like a Cole Palmer out wide, or preferably in a way that he'd like to play as a Noni Madueke, coming off the right and then Saka off the left. That is preferably how Mourinho would like to play. He'd be happy with Levi Colwill at left back over there, and then Gehi and Stones would be perfect for him as well with the height. Potentially might have other looks at other centre back options that he might go with, like with Luke Shaw. He can play in this role, but you wouldn't really see Luke Shaw playing much in Mourinho's team, so you would expect someone like Colwill to be playing a bit more. There's also the potential for it not to be Noni Madueke, for to have that, and then Foden to be playing, Madueke back over here, Foden up there, and then Mason Mount in this hole here, which is a potential. Obviously Harry Kane works really well for the way Mourinho likes to play. He's a tall striker, tall defenders, good free kick takers, and a strong midfield. It could end up being that Mount doesn't play, and we stick with more of a centred three, where it'd be like Bellingham out here, you there, and then Conor Gallagher, who has the energy to be running back and forth in the team. Obviously I really want to see Kobe Manu get into the team, obviously, but I think this is how a Mourinho team would line up, with Gallagher's energy, Rice's strength and Bellingham's strengths all around midfield, it would be just a good trio in a Mourinho style of play. Foden out wide, his close control dribbling, not quite the explosive pace that Mourinho would like in his individual moments up there, but these three players can produce their individual moments, which is a very Mourinho quality, and it's a strong defence. Trent maybe not as strong. You might see Trent get dropped, and then you see Reece James come in, who's a bit more defensively strong, which could be a way that Mourinho wants to play. But I feel like with there not being no real set piece take up, Saka does take him, but Trent would be the obvious taker here. On to the next manager on the people's lips, and that is one that I don't really fancy. There's a few that I don't fancy on here, and we're going to start with Steve Cooper. The ex-Forest manager obviously used to line up in a back three, and you'd probably see a back three more like this coming out. And then we'd have to bring in a Luke Shaw to come in there, Trent over there. The two in midfield would probably be Rice and Bellingham, two good transitional players. And then Saka, Foden and Kane up front, once again, still that front three. As I said, Noni Madueke could get his place in the team here. Bit more explosive, bit more quick than Foden, to say, but it's not a team that I'd want to see. This is not a team that I'd want to see playing. Kane, obviously strong striker, he's not going to get dropped by no one really. Like, there are options in here, like if you wanted to, you could bring in Gordon to play up front, but I feel like that maybe as a substitution potentially, yeah. But Kane's always going to be that guy. But a back three. But with Luke Shaw coming of age, it might be like, oh, Luke Shaw slotting into this side here. You see John Stones coming over here and being the central guy. And then someone like Jarell Quansah, who's happy to drive through the team, who you saw that at the weekend against United when he's playing for Liverpool. And then Alfie Doherty, who's only 24, he's still quite young, and he'll be 26 coming around the next World Cup, he's going to his prime. And you can see kind of like a Robertson situation with this guy. Of like, he is really good at attacking, and the same way Robertson was for Hull. Went a bit underappreciated in the season, but made a move to Liverpool and got his place in the international squads, and I think Doherty could do the same here. And this would be a nice squad to see potentially. All three defenders happy on the ball, happy to transition well. You could even see it drifting into more of a way that Inzaghi is currently playing, where you then have Mainu coming into the team, and you're having Kane, and it would be Kane and it'd be Kane and Foden, to be fair, with that creative number 9, and then your strong strike up front, and then but three midfielders that are happy to transition into defenders, and then the 3 defenders that are happy to transition to midfielders. So at some points, if they ended up like this, you wouldn't be worried, because all 3 are quite defensively capable. You don't want to see it like that, but all 3 of these can help move the ball forward quite well, especially the fullbacks here. And all 3 of the midfielders are happy to drop deep and help in the defence when that's needed too. Reset the team back to how it should be, though, getting into it, because we're going on to the next manager. But I think that's how we could end up drifting if Steve Cooper does get the role. It's not something it's not something I'm desperate for, but it could work. It really could work, and I'm here to give it the try if it needs a try. But let's just get everyone back in their positions roughly as we go on to the next manager, which is Edwards. Obviously currently the Luton manager. I think saying that, you would see Alfie Doherty come to the team. I think he'd be more comfortable starting with a back 4. He starts with a back 5 at Luton, but I feel like he'd be a lot more comfortable starting with a back 4 with the strengths of this team. I don't think he's ready to be an England manager. He's doing quite well at Luton, but no, for me, it would not be the argument to get into this team. Who would he start? Who would he want to see in the team? He likes his workhorses, but so you might see Kobe Manu get dropped for Gallagher. You might see even Declan Rice get dropped. I can't see Declan Rice getting dropped. You could see Declan Rice end up playing in the defence here, like Rodri does for Spain. Not something I'd want to see potentially, but he does like the way. It'd be hard to judge what he is going to truly do. It'd be maybe a Gallagher, Rice, Bellingham like that. I need to get mine off the pitch there, and then Gallagher obviously being the energy that like Ross Barkley provides, and then Bellingham being that creative force in midfield. But I think Kobe Mainu would still potentially get into the team, but set out more like this. with Bellingham being a bit deeper, just a bit more protection, and also Kobbie Mainoo to get into these positions as well, because in these positions he can do well. Obviously not as well as Bellingham does, but it also frees up space here for Foden and Saka to work in, if that is potential that is needed. There's enough on Edwards for now, and let's go on to the biggest shout for an England manager, I think, is definitely Eddie Howe. So Eddie Howe, how would Eddie Howe's England? I think it'd be quite similar to how you see, as I spoke about, how you would see Jose Mourinho's team set up, with Levi Colwill playing at left back, the midfield three being a strong midfield three again, a lot of ball carriers who can carry the ball through, and potentially with a little bit of Newcastle love, Gordon getting his place in the team as well, ahead of Foden, which would be insane. But I think it's stick with what you're used to, which is something that he should be doing. He should be sticking to what he's used to. A defence which he would be very comfortable having. With the John Stones being that leader in the back, Guehi being strong as well, Levi Cole being a strong left back, Trent taking up the role that Trippier does and doing it a lot better, I must say. Kobbie Mainoo playing on, I think you'd probably see Bellingham play on this side and Kobbie Mainoo play on this side, and it's been the more defensive side, and it's been the more attacking side. It kind of rotates around the pitch. With the height in this team is exactly what Howe would want to see. It would provide different aspects of the team. There's not much more to say. I think potentially Saka going to playing on the left. You could see Eze coming to the team. Eze, someone who would really work in the way that Howe wants his team to work. You see Mainoo get dropped and Eze coming deeper, and then Gordon playing out here, Gordon playing up front sometimes, and Kane doesn't need to be playing every game. Foden playing out wide. I think there's a lot more chances for rotation in the team, and strengths in different positions, and trust in players with Eddie Howe. As I said, like Eze can play in multiple positions, Foden can play in his multiple positions, Saka can play in multiple positions across the line, Gordon can play in multiple positions across the line, Trent can play in multiple positions down the right side, Stones can play in positions up here, Guehi strong at the back, Levi Colwill multiple positions at the back. It's what he'd want to see, and Kane, being able to play, potentially a deeper role. So Alan Shearer talk about it, of how Kane can come in deep to allow Saka and that to overlap, and then maybe even Bellingham to play in a further up role. And then obviously you want to see Eze in that type of role, you want to see Foden, you want to see Kobbie Mainoo come in. If you're going to see that type of attack going on, you'd want a bit more defensive strength, with Kobbie Mainoo being able to cover a lot of area ground as well. It wouldn't be something I'd complain about. It honestly really wouldn't be something I'd complain about if we do get Eddie Howe. But let me just reset the team here, because I don't know if I've got too many players on the pitch. It feels like I do, but I don't think I do. So let's reset the team. We're going to go back there, Kane up there, Saka over there. Right, reset the team. I said England's best 11, changing it a lot. And then the final one which I would find very interesting. I would find this last one very interesting, and that is Sarina Wiegman, the current England women's manager. There's been a lot of talk about her, about people going, oh no, but she shouldn't be able to cope with how at the different level men's game. And I'm like, but she's setting up tactically for how her opponents are playing. It's very different in terms of physicality and playing the actual men's game, but I feel like in terms of coaching it, I don't think there's too much of a difference. I think she can do it, and potentially be given the chance. It's a huge role to be given as your first role in men's management. It's first massive step for women's football in general. But how Sarina Wiegman wants to line up, I don't think she'd, because it would be such a big ask of her either, she wouldn't drift too much from this team. I feel like she want to go with strength, as in like players that have experience. So Luke Shaw would probably get into the team, despite his injuries. Luke Shaw would get into the team, but she'd also want to give youth players a chance. So you might see Guehi not play, and instead Jarell Quansah play, who I said before, comfortable on the ball, comfortable driving the ball through. And potentially you might see a bit of Kobbie Mainoo getting dropped, because she wants to be, once again, someone who's used to playing, and from Mason Mount is used to playing, that whole attack is used to playing now, to do that. Obviously Bellingham is getting used to playing, but Kobbie Mainoo's really not, and she might not have the confidence to be playing him. It's honestly all theoretical. It would all be interesting. As I said, I don't want to see Edwards or Cooper become the manager. I'd be happy with Mourinho. I'd be very happy with Mourinho. I have a lot of love for the guy. I'd be happy with how, speaking about how it would work, and then I'd take Wiegman. I would. It would be an interesting little few years. It's hard to trust with the golden generation. It's a big ask, but it is England's golden generation. Whose hands should I put this in? And that is a worry. That is a worry that we've got to worry about at the end of the day. But that is talking about who could be the next England manager. Let me know who you'd want to see as the next England manager, because I'd be interested in letting your guys' opinion. Let me know who you think is England's best 11 as well. Coming into this Euros this summer, we need to know England's best 11, because it's like, how are we going to do? Obviously, in the summer, this is probably how I want to see us, to be honest. But Kyle Walker here, I'd definitely go Mark Gahey or Levi Colwill in this position. Potentially Levi Colwill, so he gets that tournament experience as well, depending on Gahey's injury status. And I'd be happy seeing any of these players on the bench. Obviously, he's not being called up, 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 and 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 he's not being called up. So all these players you wouldn't see. So out of the players that have been called up, you can see him. That is players that you can see. Players that are on the screen right now are players that, even Luke Shaw's not being called up. Right now we don't have a left back. Levi Colwill's not being called up. So, you know, out of the actual players that I've said, I'd like to see these play at England's next big tournament, that's the only ones that actually could play at the Euros right now, because these are the ones that are fit. I don't think Trent's being called up. No, Trent's not being called up either. That's crazy. That is insane, right? That's how bad England's situation is right now, is that our defence is very, very lacklustre. Obviously, Harry Maguire's here. I don't see Harry Maguire as a long-term option. Left backs, it's Ben Chilwell, who once again doesn't seem as a long-term option, and Kyle Walker, who's not a long-term option. He's getting to retirement age now, and we need to kind of drift away from that. There's enough complaints about Jordan Henderson. Kyle Walker's had a lot of complaints this season, and he's still going to be England starting right back at the Euros. Bit of a worry. You know, Wan-Bissaka might give him a chance. It's someone I didn't even look at really, because I don't even think he would get given a chance. I still think Trent's that guy. He could play left back. He's been drifting a lot into that role recently, and I feel like he would suit a lot of these managers' systems, especially Eddie Howe once again, someone who would want to play him at left back, who's a defensively strong left back, so that when Trent does attack, we can go into a back three and be a lot more solid at the back. It's something to think about. I think Howe is my main choice, but he's dragging away from that Newcastle job. If you like the video, guys, please leave a like. You want to see more, subscribe, because there's more on its way. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.